Hello everyone. Welcome to Confessions Jury, where people put themselves on the spot, waiting for your judgment. Sit comfortably and listen carefully, as you're about to hear today's cases. You hold the hammer and you apply the law. Let us have your verdict down in the comments section. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for telling my brother's wife she doesn't have to attend family holidays if she's unhappy with my brother's ex being there? My brother Dan, 40, was married to Hannah, 39, for 10 years and they have 2 kids together. Luke, 11, and Dex, 9. They divorced 6 years ago after Dan showed a lack of regard for Hannah or his kids. He has every other weekend with his kids now and Hannah has primary custody. Hannah was close to our family throughout their relationship, and even when it ended she remained a big part of our lives. Some of us are significantly closer to Hannah than to Dan. And Hannah has her own complicated family stuff, so she's always talked about how grateful she is we didn't dump her. Dan met Tina, 35, 3 years ago and they got married fast. My parents never wanted to exclude Dan, so he was always invited to family stuff by them and us siblings because of our parents. But Hannah and the kids were invited for Christmas and Thanksgiving too because we wanted to see them. My brother never has them for holidays, so it's not an option to wait for his years, and I mention this because it has come up. I don't know if Dan told Tina, but the first year they came to Thanksgiving as a couple she was clearly unhappy that Hannah was there. She has questioned why we invite Hannah a few times, and she always got the answer that Hannah is family still and she's also the mother to the kids and we enjoy seeing them too. Recently, Tina has been more outspoken about her dislike of Hannah being invited, and she told me, since I'm hosting Christmas this year, that I should choose family over some ex. I told her Hannah has been in my life for more than 18 years and I won't end that for her. Tina said if it's for Luke and Dex then wait for Dan's time. I told her he never has his kids for the holidays and that Hannah has primary custody and we would never deny her having them for Christmas just because she, Tina, doesn't like Hannah being there. She said it's disrespectful to her as Dan's wife and the mother to his unborn child. I told her she doesn't have to attend if she's unhappy with Hannah being there. She freaked out and told me I should want her there more than Hannah and how dare I stand by the ex. She said we all disrespect her when we include Hannah and treat her like family still. Am I the bad person? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for telling my dad's wife I don't care that he's cheated on her at least 10 times now? My dad cheated on my mom when I, 16M, was 4. The reason I know this is because my dad's affair partner / now wife is a messy person, and not only is she willing to be the other woman, but she stayed with my dad even though he's cheated on her 10 times that she knows about. My sister, 19F, and I never liked Dad's relationship with his wife, and we never respected or liked her as a person either. We don't even like him. The only reason I still see him as a judge said I had to and threatened to make my mom pay money to the courts every time if I refused to see him, and I don't want to do that to her. So I go to their house and try to stay out of the house as much as possible. When we were younger, this woman did try to be a second mom to me and my sister, and we disrespected her to her face every time she tried. Even when she and my dad had kids together, we didn't see her any differently. To us, she was always the person who was half the reason our parents' marriage ended and Dad was the other half. I know people don't like to blame the other woman, but she admits she knew. When we were younger, the reason we knew so much about it is because this woman would break down and cry because Mom wouldn't speak to her. And she went on rambling fits about how Mom was being unfair and she should understand that this woman and Dad were soulmates, and yes, she knew Dad was married, but they had to be together and Mom should be compassionate. She also had crying fits about us not liking her and how we shouldn't judge people for sleeping with married men or women because they're real people with real feelings and nobody knows what it's like. A few weeks ago, she had another breakdown in front of me and asked why I never support her when another of Dad's affairs is found out. She told me Dad cheated while she was having her last kid, and I told her I know, and she cried even harder and asked why I never supported her and did I know he cheated again last month. I told her I don't care. I said he's repulsive, but so is she, and I don't care if he cheats on her every day for the rest of their lives because she's nothing to me. She broke down and tried to talk about all the times he cheated, and I told her that I don't care that it's been at least 10 times. She started yelling at me and I walked away, but since that day, when my dad's week comes, she's whining whenever I'm nearby and trying to talk me into treating her better. And complaining because my sister blocked her when she tried to talk to her. Which came after my sister laughed at her while she was crying on the phone to her. Am I the bad person? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for kicking my cousin and her fiancé out of my home after he insulted my body? I, 29, F, recently bought a condo and finally had the time to have some friends and family members over yesterday. My cousin and her fiancé drove up from San Diego to my place in Los Angeles and planned on sleeping over last night and driving home today. I have always been close with this particular cousin of mine, but because of the distance between us, we don't get together as much as we used to. I have never really been a fan of her fiancé, but I have tolerated him up until last night. My cousin was talking about how she can never find any good tops that fit her well because of how large her breasts are. I, on the other hand, barely even fit into a bra because my breasts are so small. I don't even bother wearing a bra because it's unnecessary. To a certain extent, this is something I occasionally feel self-conscious about. My cousin's fiancé looked at me and said, "This is a problem you obviously don't have. I'm sure if you were topless no one would even notice." I was completely flabbergasted. My cousin sort of laughed and told her fiancé he wasn't allowed to drink anymore. I was standing there speechless and horribly embarrassed. Not to mention the fact that my other guests heard this. One of my guy friends was there and he looked shocked, but came to my defense and said, "Well, I have actually seen her topless on accident and she without a doubt has the cutest nipples I have ever seen." I know he was trying to help, but this only made things even more awkward. It was beyond embarrassing. At this point, I was just furious. I told my cousin and her fiancé that they were no longer allowed to spend the night and that they needed to leave. I explained, although I don't feel like I really needed to, that I was simply not going to be disrespected in my own home. Obviously, they didn't like hearing this and said I was a horrible person, how dare I do this, etc. It's not like they didn't have anywhere to go. Traffic would not have been bad driving back to San Diego anyways. They got other guests of mine riled up, which resulted in the majority of them, with the exception of my guy friend, telling me that I was being hysterical and unkind. Now, I feel crazy and gaslit. I don't know what to do. Can't wrap my head around that story. What do you think? Who is in the wrong there? Let us know down in the comments section, and let's move on to our last case. Case 4. Am I the bad person for refusing to host Thanksgiving after my sister handed out a family code of conduct contract? This happened recently, and I'm still baffled. For context, I, 32F, have hosted Thanksgiving for my family every year since I moved into my house 5 years ago. It's always a little messy and chaotic, but that's part of the charm, right? This year, my sister, 29F, decided she wanted to help bring some order to the gathering. At first, I thought she just meant coordinating who would bring what dishes or helping with cleanup. Instead, she showed up at my house last week with printed copies of what she called a family code of conduct. She handed these out and insisted everyone read and sign them before attending Thanksgiving. Some highlights included a rule against overlapping conversations at the dinner table, with suggestions for taking turns like a respectful debate club. A ban on political or controversial topics, with her as the final arbiter of what was too heated. A dress code of smart casual because holiday photos should reflect well on the family. Assigned seating that she claimed was based on optimal personality compatibility. She was completely serious. When I laughed and said, "You can't be serious," she accused me of not taking her efforts to improve family dynamics seriously. I told her I wasn't going to enforce a code of conduct at my house and that if she wanted to micromanage Thanksgiving, she could host it herself. She doubled down, saying I was being ungrateful and stubborn. I canceled hosting, and now the family is mad at me. My mom thinks I should have just humored her for the day, while my brother, 35M, is refusing to go anywhere unless no one tries to draft a holiday constitution. I'm torn. Was I wrong for standing my ground, or should I have let her run the day to keep the peace? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.